One, I want to welcome you back to the conversation. I really appreciate you being here and joining us each week. We're building quite a network of leaders, and it's just great to have everyone, and it really encourages my heart to see people care as much and have the passion about this topic around leadership that I do, and so many of us that have been in the business of leading others for a long, long time. So let's hear from everyone. Let's see who's out there. Let's say good morning to each other. Hey, Nikki, good morning to you. Glad you're back. Thanks for being here. We've had a great discussion over the last several weeks. And Robin, thank you for being here. And thanks for your participation in the previous weeks. Appreciate that. And, we talked a lot about leadership, and now we've kind of got into this module too, and we're really diving into change leadership. Hi, Brady. Hi, Lori. Hey, Lori Bowley. Good to see you. Just glad to have everybody. Stephanie, happy Wednesday to you as well. So today, we're going to continue this conversation around leading through the uncertainty of change. And last week, we discussed the fear of the unknown and how that keeps us in our comfort zone, right? Hey, Bill, good to see you. Carolyn, how you? Good to see you. Glad to see everybody streaming in this morning. Keep it coming. The more participation, the better quality all this relates to. Matthew, good morning to you. So we're moving away from that fear, and today we're going to step out of our comfort zone and what we know and what we're comfortable with, and we're going to explore, have the courage to explore. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Al, good seeing you again this morning. And what does it mean to explore? Hey, Carrie, awesome. Love that sunshine. Yes, it is. Beautiful day in Florida. So let's reflect back a little bit. So let's remember the 3 C's, right, from the previous discussion is choice, chance, and change, right? So you must make the choice to take the chance if you want anything to change. And I think that's what we're all here to talk about this morning is moving ourselves. Remember, it kind of starts with self-care and all the things we do to be prepared to influence others, to be prepared to be that beacon for others to follow. But it takes that courage and then go through these scenarios, and then we can change ourselves, and we can change our organizations, and we can change our futures. So how do we think about courage? So let's talk about that a little bit in chat. When you comes to courage. What is courage, right? Hey, Dave, good to see you. It's really the ability to do something that frightens us, right? To thus act on one's beliefs despite the danger or disapproval of others. And I think that's what in business a lot of times slows us down is less about really fear of, the fight or flight context, but really more about approval, right? Self-approval from others. We all want to be in an environment of positivity, and we want people to accept us. And I think sometimes that paralyzes us a little bit too much. And how do you apply, these concepts ultimately to leadership? Hey, Lexi, good morning. Good to see you. Courage allows you to challenge the process with confidence. We talked about in our leadership fundamentals a lot about courage. The challenge of process context. But what courage does is it really allows you to do that and demonstrate the confidence to do it. It's also important when it comes to being authentic and even vulnerable. Vulnerability is really important in leadership because nobody really wants to be around everybody that already knows everything, right? They want people to recognize that we're a team, we're collaborative, we're in this together. And when you show a little bit of vulnerability, it actually draws people to you. And it makes them open up more. And through that process, we talked about diving a little deeper and probing. Through that conversation and depth, that's where trust really starts coming forward, right? They start realizing your value system, what you stand for, your commitment to the collective group, and what your intentions really are. And ultimately, then they share more, and you create an environment of trust. So think about that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the examples of where you've really demonstrated leadership courage that gave others the ability to really step out. It takes courage to leave the familiar behind and explore the frontier of possibility. So what does it mean to explore in a business context, right? To examine or evaluate an opinion an option, or possibility, right? In order to learn and to familiarize oneself. So remember, it's kind of that aha moment, make the unfamiliar familiar. And the more you do this, the more you develop these skills, the more comfortable you'll get with all this. So in my opinion, exploration is truly vital to business success. Do you agree with that? Do you believe that in your business, stagnation is a problem, that, paralysis by analysis can be an issue? If you believe that, chat it up. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's hear from everybody. But in this context, I believe exploration of possibility is vital. And remember, think of it this way. When you demonstrate as a leader the courage to go first, what you really do is you furnish confidence to those that follow you. And in this way, you as a leader really give permission to others to expand upon their capabilities, to broaden their thinking, to really think about the possible, right? Throughout history, all the leaders that we considered worth following, we found one consistent thing. And what do you think that is? It's the courage to act. Remember, we talked about that in a previous section. It's the courage to act, right? So exploration is vital as part of the success of business, and in particular, growth in business, right? It expands beyond your boundaries. It opens up new possibilities, and it helps develop new addressable markets and ideas, right? Who couldn't use right now a new revenue stream, a new opportunity to grow your business? So in chat, I want you to share some examples where you stepped out of your comfort zone to explore possibilities, something new that really opened up opportunities for you personally and for your team and organization. And I know several of you on here, and I know if you are courageous leaders and you've done this quite a bit. Share those experiences with others. They'll draw strength from them, I promise you. That's right. That's a great point. And, we used to kind of make fun of people say, well, fail fast. Well, really, that is a vital component of courage, right? You've got to have the ability to learn from failure, and that you want to do it quickly. Don't drag it off. Don't fall in love with your business plan. Don't hang on to something that you've already recognized pretty quickly. Maybe it not have been the best way to go, but the learning from that is vital, and it makes every one of those worthwhile. And I think that is very, very important, Robin. I appreciate you sharing that. So resistance to change. Let's think about that. That's also referred to as professional paralysis. It's a common problem in companies that are surviving but not thriving. And, all of us on this call, you wouldn't be here if you were not interested in seeing yourself and your team and others elevate to that level of thriving. Right? So what do you see holding back your organization? Think about these things a little deeply, and how could you influence those things? How can you be, like we talked about, be that first one to step out and to give permission to others to follow and to reach the possibilities of what could be? Do you see a lack of courage in exploring new opportunities in your organization? Are you a little bit stuck in a rut? Are you just in the machine, if you will, the mechanical aspects of running a business, doing the same things, wondering why your results aren't changing, right? Are you okay with that? Not knowing how it could affect you professionally. I think that's a good question to ask. If you are in that state, I would think about that, because that gets back to that self-care and that your ability to actually provide the leadership and the skills necessary to bring the organization forward, whether you're in a leadership role or whether it's just a peer-to-peer. We talked a lot about how the importance of peer-to-peer relationships and influence really move organizations forward. You can be a leader regardless of where you sit within the organization, as we've discussed. And I would venture to say that many of these companies out there today are overmanaged and underled. Now, if you agree with that, just say yes. And I know several of you do, whether you said not, because I've had conversations about this. Remember, overmanaged and underled. I've worked for companies, where mediocrity rose to the top because the structure was a little too rigid, and it didn't have that challenge of process component. And it wouldn't allow anyone, including leaders at other levels, to challenge the process. Yes, Stephanie, way to go. To challenge the process, right? It's often a very vertical structure that far removes the top decision makers from the reality of what other leaders see and hear on the ground. There you go, Al. Absolutely. Amen, Robin. I love it. Those companies lack the agility to adapt quickly to change circumstances in markets where leadership is either lacking or non-existent. In environments such as these, where employees are not empowered, remember we talked about every one of this, how it builds on itself, are enabled to act, remember how this all ties together? The best talent will be driven out, and the company will eventually flounder, as companies are only as good as their people. If you believe human capital is the ultimate great value of a company, then it's only as good as its people. Say yes again, because I think if you're on this call, you do. Progress is impossible without the challenges that lead to productive and positive change. Let me say that again. Progress is impossible without the challenges that lead to productive and positive change. Whether it's changes in the process, to the people managing those processes, to the direction of the leadership, to marketing of the message, or to anything else that would affect outcomes. Change is the conduit for growth and for ultimate success. Change is the conduit for growth and ultimate success. Yes, yes, love it. Carrie and Terry, keep coming. Leading or driving change requires the courage to. These are important. Leading people is all it's about. You're right, Al. So here we go. Leading or driving change requires the courage to listen to and explore new ideas and opportunities. 1. 2, stand up to the fear of uncertainty. 3, face the unknown. Remember last week, fear unknown, courage to explore. Head on, face the unknown head on and with confidence. It will be okay. Move forward toward unfamiliar territory. I think that is ultimately where we want to go. We want to expand markets, adjacent businesses to the markets that we're in. Those new addressable markets are out there. They're yours to be had. There's great opportunity all around you if you slow down long enough to really think about what could be and evaluate how you are better positioned and how you have a right to win that market share. So here's a good lesson that I thought a lot about in this process. People that invest in early stage companies understand and accept that 8 out of 10 of those investments are going to fail. Think about that. They're putting money, real money into that. They know 8 of them out of the 10 are going to fail. That should give you the courage to really be bold. But they also know that one of them is going to do well and one of them is going to do really well, right? That's the real essence, right? And over time, they refine their judgment. Remember, judgment in all this is so important. And therefore, they become much more consistent at picking winners. So many of you do, but so will you as you continue to refine these skills, right? So this is the skill that will develop over time. The more you explore and develop your courage, the more you pursue new ideas and opportunities. This context and courage to explore will become second nature. But to be successful, you have to demonstrate the courage and the willingness to explore, being curious, asking level 3 and 4 questions. Remember, we talked about that probing. It keeps coming back up. And using that 5 why technique that we talked about. Probe deeper, cut through the surface noise to the essence of a need or an opportunity that is right there in front of you, that your team knows. This is where you pull context and information out of your team, get that value out of the organization by the collaboration with your teammates, creating that environment where they come forward with curiosity and all that. And ultimately, your courage will translate to confidence. There you go. I love it, Nikki. If you fail forward, is it really failing? No, it's really not failing, right? Really, many of these things we define as a failure. What it really was, it didn't meet our expectation. Failure is a very hard thing to achieve, frankly, because you're never down. It's whether you get up or not, right? So yeah, that is absolutely great. But remember, ultimately, this all translates to confidence. Go back to what we said earlier. It gives others permission, right? So I like to think about prospecting business. Many of you are in sales, you've done it. If you've been in business development or sales, you know that prospecting is a great example of exploration in this context. I think about prospecting, anyone that's ever been in this business has learned that skill and gets confident with it, and we bring others into it, it helps, right? It's a necessity to be successful, but it takes experience. It takes practice to hone that skill, right? To develop the confidence that people will want to learn more from you. They'll take an appointment that they sense that your commitment to their success. You get really good at that, then you're demonstrating, you're modeling the way for what we're talking about here today. You know, Billy Graham, an evangelist, Billy Graham said, courage is contagious. When a brave man or woman takes a stand, the spines of others are often stiffened. I think I've used that quote a lot. I think that is so important. No means next. I love that. Ask for the no. There's a train. That's obvious. That's a great sort. Matter of fact, we're going to have a session coming up, Terry, on the importance of no. Leaders must clearly define the path they see toward progress and convey the conviction, their confidence in the direction they envision. They got to show that they are confident in that vision that they're professing. Yes, being transparent and sharing the way helps break down fear and brings people along because they trust you. Outstanding, Carrie. So true. So most people in companies they lead succeed not because they are destined to. Let me say it again. Most people in companies that they lead that succeed are not because they are destined to. It's because they are determined to. I think that's great. The difference between a successful person and others is usually not a lack of learning or knowledge. It's a lack of willingness to explore new possibilities. In the end, the only people who fail are those who don't try. Norman Vincent Peale put it this way: if there exists no possibility of failure, then victory is meaningless. I think that's spot on. So don't be afraid to go out on a limb. I'll tell you, as a young man, my grandmother had a cherry tree in her backyard. She used to tell me all the time, Bill, don't you climb. She'd say, Billy, don't you climb that tree. And I used to always say, well, if I get out on that tree, I'm going to find something better. I'm going to really discover the fruit that's out there on that limb. And you can't reach great heights if you don't take some risk, right? Your grandmother being mad, breaking that limb, but I tell you, those cherries sure were good. So you can't discover new oceans without the courage to lose sight of the shore. Alden Arrow said it this way: a ship in the harbor is safe. And I love this. That is not what ships are built for, though, is it? Right? We can't stop the winds of change, right? So we may as well just adjust the sails. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor, as the old cliche goes. So don't wait for your ship to come in, team. I want to see you swimming. Swim out to it. When having the courage to explore, one of the greatest discoveries people make is finding they can do what they feared they couldn't do. Even though much of what we explore will not always result in everything that we hoped, the alternative of playing it safe and being comfortable with the familiar is simply not an alternative. So my takeaways that I think about today, you will always miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. I think that's a great one. Let's see what Lexi says here. You miss 100 shots you don't take, every motivational poster. I love it. Way to go. Mark Twain, famous Mark Twain, great writer, said, courage is resistance to fear. Mastery of fear is what's important, not absence of fear. I love it. Courage is resistance to fear. Mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Winston Churchill said, fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. Let that sink in for a minute. So have the courage to explore, team. I really want you to. I want to leave you with a couple of things. We still got a minute to here. Leadership requires the courage to challenge what is for the sake of what could be, right? The courage to dream always precedes the capital needed to finance that dream. Remember, it's not about capital. If capital was what's important, banks would be the leader in innovation, thought leadership. We know that's not the case. Capital follows the dream, follows what's someone's expression of possibility, right? So the three expressions of courage for the next generation leader are these: the courage to say no. There we go. Who said that earlier? Terry, I believe. Remember, the courage to say no. A lack of focus eventually translates into a loss of vision. And when the vision is fuzzy, people can't follow it. Then the courage to face current reality, right? An accurate, insightful view of current reality is important, as is clear vision. Unfortunately, many of us, and I'm one of them sometimes, have the habit of imposing bias on our perceptions of current reality. And number three, finally, the courage to dream. And that goes back to what I was saying, dreams precede capital. So this week, we're giving away a different book. And this week, Lexi, it's going to you and to Terry, Lexi West and Terry Williamson. You both have won. And thank you for being here again this week. And this week, we're giving the book away, The Art of Possibility. I think, man, doesn't that go perfectly with what we're talking about today, The Art of Possibility? And Jim will get that to you. I'm so glad you continue to be with us each week. And next week, we're going to go from the courage to explore into a new one, self-disruption for reconstruction. So I hope you'll be with us. Appreciate you all. Way to go, winners. Way to go for participating. And do me a favor, lead on.